Welcome to the Gynarchy Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Gynarchy Patel. Here we place women's health and feminism front and center where they belong, engaging in conversations that range from the fundamental to the fearless. With insights from expert guests, we aim to break through the barriers of the patriarchy and envision a new world led by the Gynarchy. So let's get started and dive right in. Welcome to the Gynarchy Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Gynarchy Patel. And today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of the fashion industry from a feminist perspective. Today, my guest is Tara West. Tara West is an award-winning fashion stylist, lifestyle blogger, podcast co-host, and an on-air style expert who serves clients all over the country, from Boston to New York City to Los Angeles. Tara is a pro in her field, having gotten her start in 2011 after leaving a successful practice as a psychotherapist. She set out to create exclusive shopping events tailored to customers' needs. So welcome, Tara. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you. So Tara and I know each other from a mutual friend, Jill Kravitz, who she co-hosts a podcast with. And the podcast, if anyone's interested, is called Shorts with Tara and Jill. And it's at the intersection of business and fashion, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So I guess I thought, the last episode I heard, I think I had heard that Jill was going to focus on her business. Are you going to continue your podcast?
I am. Funny enough, as you know, when one thing ends, another one begins. Isn't this true? So I thought I was going to be doing the podcast alone, but I do have these two women. They're interior decorators, and they too used to be therapists. And so we're going to start a podcast together, fashion and design. And I think it's just so funny that all three of us used to be psychotherapists. So I think there's going to be, I'm actually really excited. I was sad that Jill was done because I love Jill. We've known each other forever. But I think this next adventure is going to be great. I mean, it's got all the ingredients for a great podcast.
That sounds really interesting. I thought that was, and Jill I imagine you're still going to have her on whenever you can or whenever she can.
She's going to definitely be a guest, definitely a guest. But, I just thought, okay, so I don't want to end it. I'll host it alone, which I was fine with. But then when this opportunity came about, I said, this is great. This is going to be really good.
I didn't realize till you sent me your bio that you had this background in psychotherapy, which I think is so interesting. So I do want to hear about your background, like whatever else you'd like to share, but definitely also throw in, a little information about that because I'm kind of intrigued.
Well, for really quickly, as I grew up in LA and I always wanted to be a stylist, but that was much like going to school to be an actor. So it was kind of poo-pooed upon, if you will. And so that being said, I ended up in therapy, just kidding. But I had, therapy had always been a part of my life and I was very open to it. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I became a therapist, a marriage and family therapist. And I was the best dressed therapist ever. It was almost not okay. I would try to dress down, but when it's your passion, it's like I could not be dressed. And so because I was a younger therapist, I worked with a lot of, kids who are in trouble, suicidal, and all these things, which are very heavy topics, right? And they say, don't bring it home, but it's a little bit hard not to. So after I was first pregnant with my first child, I said, I'm going to stop doing therapy. And then after my third child, I said, I'm going to start a fashion business because when I was pregnant, everybody would say, oh, where'd you get that? You look so cute, pregnant, not pregnant. And I said, you know what? I got to do this. I don't want to regret it. I think and I knew myself well enough to know that I had to be busy. I had to work. I was not a stay-at-home mom. I give all the credit to those moms, but that was just not me, So I launched my business. I had no idea. This was back in the day too, when stylists were not really a thing. It was very new. And so was social media. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So I went all in, and Jill, who we spoke about before, she was my business mentor, and she, I'd go meet with Jill and then I'd leave and be so mad because I knew everything Jill told me to do, I had to do, and I didn't want to do it, like being public, like being on social media. and putting yourself out there. That took a lot for me because that, when you dress people, you're behind the scenes. And so this was really putting myself forward. And as you know, we can be very critical of ourselves, right? And all of these things. And so I had to really get over that because if this was what I was going to do, I couldn't beat myself up every time I posted or something. So I worked on that, if you will. And then that's kind of how it's evolved.
Oh my gosh, I think you do a great job. I love following you because, I love that you're not a 20-something stylist. Like I don't follow accounts like that. I like to follow women, my age, because that's kind of what we need now. We want to be influenced by our peers, or things that we can attain. Right.
Exactly.
So did you get so how many years did you work in psychotherapy, and did some of your mental health clients become your fashion customer clients?
I love that because I don't think anybody has ever asked me that question, but I was a therapist for almost 15 years. It was a very long time.
Wow.
I mean, I started right out of college, and I knew exactly that that's what I was going to do. But I would say none of my previous mental health clients ever were clients, but psychology plays a huge role in what I do. And I bet you could attest to this doing what you do is there's many levels, right? There's many levels of what people are going through. For me, for instance, it's sometimes people, everybody has maybe a part of their body that they don't love or that they try to hide. And so I'm coming into that kind of not knowing what it is that you are working with that might bother you. On the flip side, sometimes somebody has, like I just had a client, she has a 12 and a half size shoe. Like that is really hard to find a woman's 12 and a half size shoe. I know it might not sound like a problem to a lot of people, but when you are a working woman or you're just a woman who wants to go out, trying to find a shoe that size is very difficult. So, and then there's also the part of money. Money plays a big part in what I do. How much do you want to spend? How much do you put towards your wardrobe? What makes you feel good? Do you want a closet full of stuff? Or do you want a closet full of like really nice pieces and then add in little things that don't cost so much? So these are all things that actually it's a lot of psychology involved.
Yeah. I could see that as being a real strength, because I don't know. I'm of the opinion all women have beauty, and that like fashion is a tool. And I do kind of think like your background in human psychology probably does like help counsel clients, right?
Yeah.
To try to develop their self-confidence and self-love and self-expression.
Exactly what I was going to say. And I think we can all feel this. When we really like what we're wearing, we're going to have a really good day, right? So
yes.
If you love your outfit and you're feeling yourself, it's good. Like I want you to feel that all the time. And also because we're in January, people start to clean out their closets, right? So I always say, get rid of those self-deprecating items. Like if you walk in past something and you say, okay, when I lose 5 pounds, get rid of it. I don't want the what ifs in your closet. What if? We could all what if all day long, but it doesn't feel good. And immediately, if that's the way you start your day, it's kind of self-deprecating. So get rid of the what ifs and live for now. Because sure, you can always lose weight. You could always do whatever you want to do, but live for today. Make yourself good, look good, and feel good for today.
Did you ever, so that reminds me, did you ever read Marie Kondo? Did you get into that? Because I really did.
No, I didn't.
So, her that is okay, I was a little bit obsessed with Marie Kondo. I absolutely love it because I actually think that this is related to this concept of like, because she has you purge your closet, like take everything out. This is for hoarders or people with too much stuff that want to declutter. And basically she has you take all the stuff out and you only keep the things that you absolutely love. And one of the things she recommends is getting rid of things that don't fit, like just get rid of them. And I do think that just keeps reminding you like, oh, I don't fit because I've outgrown it. It makes you feel like if that's an insecurity, it makes you feel fat or something about your body. Like the dress is not the the outfit is not the standard, right? Like you should use your body as the standard. It should look good on your body.
Yeah. And, I've learned too, like, okay, so I can tell my clients these things all day long. I just turned 50 and my body has changed tremendously out of nowhere. And so I have had to take on that same concept. Okay, fine. Size up in a jean, size up 2 sizes. Does it even matter? It should not matter as long as you feel good about yourself, right? Because as we know, if there's a stretch in a jean, you're going 2 sizes smaller. When back in the day, when there was no stretch in the jean, we were probably all 2 to 3 sizes bigger in our jean size. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, because there's stretch, you have to downsize because otherwise, that end of the day when you're pulling up everything because it's sagging out. So that happens. So the reality of sizing, there is no reality in sizing. It's not real.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the numbers, the numbers can make you feel insecure, right? So, and, like to your point, I now purchase things with the idea. The other thing I learned from Marie Kondo is like to buy things that I think I'll use for years. It's also less wasteful. But I think about that. I'm like, is this going to still look okay as I'm getting older, and if my body changes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought let's get into it let's start with the negatives of the fashion industry because I like to end on a high note. So I think we'll start in the gutter and then we'll move our way out of it. So, you brought up one of the bad parts, like obviously these beauty standards, these unrealistic standards. Sometimes I grew up in the 80s. I'm not going to ask your age or what influenced you, but I grew up in the 80s and that was like the era of heroin chic. Okay. I've always been tiny, but even if there's something tiny, like you were just feeling fat because those models are just, they were gazelle-like, 6 feet tall, super skinny, no curves, so that was very unhealthy. What are your thoughts about beauty standards now versus the past?
So I agree. I was in that era and I also grew up in LA. I was just talking to I work with a nutritionist right now just to figure out like now that I'm 50, what should I be eating? But anyways, I said I grew up with no salad dressing, no cheese. You could not order bread at the restaurant. Or when the bread came, do not eat it. Like, this is it was all the no's. Like, God forbid I should put that in my mouth because I would gain a pound in a minute. Like, I don't even, looking at it. And so what I love about what's happening right now is that it's a lot about muscle and it's a lot about body. What do I want to say? Like
positivity,
body positivity, but also curves.
Right.
You want to have curves. And it's like, back in the day when I was growing up, there was no curve. Like you were saying, it was like stick.
That was tough.
That was stick. And that, by the way, most people don't have a stick-like figure at all, especially if you have breasts, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're a developing teenager. You kind of sometimes get this little bit of body fat, or I did, or you know what I mean? So you're like very rare, that stick. So I think you're right. It was like these unattainable and I'm not saying that unattainable body standards don't still happen. I think we're more in a place of let's have curves and let's have muscle and let's, not be wafer thin.
Right. I love that. I mean, I remember like purposely not wearing a bra to look flatter. Isn't that messed up? I mean, and wearing baggy things and just trying to look longer and straighter.
Yeah, with nothing, with no curves, So,
right.
So I think it's better now in that regard, I think people and people want to eat. Like people want to know. Yes. Is what to eat because they want to eat,
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I do feel that this younger generation, I love what they put forth, like in terms of the diversity of what is beautiful. I mean, basically trying to find beauty in yourself, in any shape or form. And there's strong girls and there's curvy girls and girls with different, that's another thing. I had like the kinky hair texture and, so I love the, all the different looks, So another thing I wanted to bring up was just how the fashion industry just seems really male dominated. I mean, maybe you have inside, perspective on this. It's like the big fashion houses, right? Aren't they just like mostly male designers?
Yes, they're mostly male designers, and which kind of blows my mind because I actually know a lot of female designers, women who have started businesses in fashion and jewelry. But you're right, for the bigger fashion houses, it still seems to remain male dominant.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of the influencers are women, but they don't have as much power, right? But yeah, I mean, I like to think that's changing. I mean, I see some, like, I also love that these, like, I don't know, some of these female stars start their own fashion lines, for example. So
I think it'll definitely happen. It's gonna get there because there are so many female designers, like I said, and in stores, run by women who have started fashion stores or boutiques or what have you. And so I think it's just inevitable that one of these fashion houses is gonna have a woman for sure.
do you know of any, like, are there certain big fashion houses that you think do have more female influence, or not off the top of your head? No pressure.
No, there's not pressure at all. A Chanel, I mean, Chanel has almost always been a male, except for Coco
The
Chanel.
founder. Right. The founder.
And that's
Okay, Coco Chanel.
super feminine, like so chic. So it's very interesting that you ask that because when you look at some of these, you think, wow, I mean, that's not a woman running that.
Right. It should be helmed by a woman, right?
Right.
Okay, that's interesting to think about. Yeah. So, okay, another thing. So, from a feminist point of view, one of the problems with the fashion industry is just the, like hypersexualizing women or objectifying women. And I guess one of the questions I had is like, how do you differentiate when it's empowering, like, that look, being sexy is an empowering look versus like exploiting women?
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, and what is art and what is not? Because, sometimes it's art, but it could be translated differently to people. I can't really answer that in terms of, I know what I feel when I see something. I know what I feel when I see an ad as empowering or not, but I don't know. I couldn't speak for the masses on that. I think collectively, I think things are kind of, there is a way to be sexy and empowered. It's powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, but
yeah, I agree. I think this is like one of the critiques of it, of why, like, women may be feminism may be critical of the fashion industry. But I agree with you. I think I know it when I see it,
Yeah.
I know like what is like uplifting women versus what is degrading women. That reminds me of that recent, I don't know if you saw that music video that Kim Kardashian put out. Did you see it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. That kind of grossed me out. What did you think?
I agree with you. I think that's I think that's a great example of how does that make you feel, right? You and I seem to both have the same reaction.
Yeah, it's degrading.
It's degrading. And I think probably a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, and I think was it directed by? I think it was directed by a man, right? Like someone, but you can kind of see the influence there a little bit, right? The male gaze, I guess you would say, and that is not a critique on Kim Kardashian entirely. Like, I do also believe that women can dress sexy. Like, other times she's dressed scantily, and I'm like, I fully support that, so it's not a global rejection of her style.
Well, also, personally, I like to have a little sex appeal. I feel empowered.
Yes.
I mean, in a tasteful way, right? So I feel empowered when I can be have a little bit of a sex appeal, but still seem elegant or come across as elegant. I like that.
Me too. I actually do. I mean, obviously not at work, but in the right setting, I
Yeah.
do like to be sexy. I also feel, okay, this is going to sound strange. But I feel like it's my job. I've reached an age where I feel like it's my job to be an example and to also to also support women my age and up that are trying to be, like still alive, vibrant, embrace their beauty and feel like, I want to push back against the, I guess, the patriarchal notion that after a certain age, you're, expired goods.
I agree. And I appreciate that. I'm the same way. I feel like when I work with people, not that tell them they should be sexy, but I do remind them they do have this sexy aura, right? Or the ability to show their femininity of however they want to choose to show that. But we can do that through dress in a tasteful way. And then
Yes.
you feel womanly, you feel empowered.
Yes. Yes. You know what? That just reminded me. I love that you brought up femininity. I'm feminine. I love femininity. And I feel like that's been put down, femininity. And I feel like also being feminine, bringing that to the table, let's say, even in the workplace or wherever in your life out there, is like an elevating the qualities of femininity and being feminine, because I feel like masculinity has been just touted as the top, the best, the most intelligent or strong or powerful. But like, why don't we also try to show that, that femininity is also powerful and smart and, all these good qualities, right?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I love to walk into a room when I'm feeling that and to kind of see how people react. Not that I'm looking for a
Yes.
reaction, but this is what happens. There are some people that are fine with it and enjoy it. There's other people who are put off by it. Like maybe it's a little intimidating. Because when you radiate your femininity, you're also radiating confidence. And so if you next time, I don't know if you ever notice how people are reactive to it. I also, as a therapist, I'm always like, looking.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you understand what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
it could be another woman who is put off because maybe she's not feeling that way about herself at that moment. Or it could be a man who is not confident, who's a little put off by your confidence, because really what you're radiating is confidence, I think.
Yes, I agree. I love that. I'm like you, kind of empathic. I can feel what people are thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how I say it.
Yeah.
And so I do think that, yeah, I'm fully embracing your femininity and coming into a room. Like it sort of reminds me of a conversation I had with a girlfriend about how back in when we were growing up, say in the 90s and you're out working, I was very much trying to blend into a man's world and wearing like the gray suit, the blue suit, trying to be like never hot pink in the workplace or something, because that's just unserious. But now things have really turned around. I feel like, I think that when I was on your podcast, they wore the pink suit, and I just feel like, yeah, that stands out. Like I'm going to stand out in a room full of men now.
Yeah, right. And why wouldn't you? So yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So, okay, what else do I have? I think we touched upon this, just the lack of diversity historically in the fashion industry with regards to people of color, LGBTQ plus community, people with disabilities. I have seen examples of this changing. They it's not enough, but any thoughts to share on that?
I think our next generation, like my kids, they don't even think twice about any of that. Like that is so ingrained in their culture, in their verbiage, in their everyday, that I think that it's just going to evolve into everybody doing their thing, because in
Yes.
their world, everybody does their thing and there's no labels, to be honest. Like my kids don't label it. It's just what it is. And so
Right.
I have hope for that for the future
Mhm.
because they won't think in terms of separation or a label.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. I also think the kids are wholesome. Like I don't think there's a problem. I think there's a lot, they get a lot of critique about how they are. They care about social causes. And I love that. We should be more inclusive and bringing everyone together and bringing, not excluding people with thing like fashion.
Yeah, and I think, my kids have even said, oh my God, like they learn fashion from all these different cultures and groups. And
Yes.
I mean, that like they pull from that as they all do from each other, which is what we do from each other. Like I get inspired people ask me, how do I get inspired? I get inspired by other people on Instagram. I get inspired by you. Like you're wearing a beautiful top. I love that print. Like
Thank you.
there's a constant inspiration from others. And that's first of all flattering, right? It's so flattering to be inspired by somebody else, but it also helps you realize what you want. So we all learn from each other.
Yes, absolutely. I love, that's why I love Instagram and seeing, now we are connected with people around the world, right? So yes, all those, their influence is so much great, their influence is so much greater than like people in the like us growing up. They have the entire world at their fingertips.
It's true.
So that leads me to one of the other things I'd written down I wanted to touch upon as a problem is cultural appropriation. I agree that, like, as an Indian person, I am not bothered at all by people wearing Indian clothes. I feel it like I get excited when, like, I see people of other cultures wearing a sari or something because I think it's beautiful. I think people should wear it. It's a great fashion choice. But what are your thoughts on that? I know some people are bothered by, certain groups are wearing their costume. And maybe this is not something you've thought about because, do you ever dress outside?
I mean, I don't know what that would feel like, but I can imagine what you seem to be like. That's okay. Like you like to see people dressed, however, in your culture, you have no problem with it. I don't know. Do people usually have a problem with that? I know when I
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the difference, okay. And I guess the difference is like, are you using it as a costume or are you using it as because you just love the beauty of the garb or the
okay,
the
so
design.
let's go on that for a minute. So if they're using it as a costume, is that offensive?
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah. I mean, okay, that's interesting. Like, would I be annoyed if somebody wore a sari as a Halloween costume?
Right. And not just as a love of the culture.
Yes. Okay. You know what? It's like what we were talking about before. Like, it when it's when it's degrading or elevating, right? So it. Like if it was a beautiful costume ball in Boston and, everyone was wearing something fabulous and you appeared in a sari, I would be like, fabulous, beautiful, great choice.
Right.
But if it's yes, exactly. But if it, because you're basically like trying to wear something beautiful and look glamorous at this Halloween ball. But if you are wearing it to make fun of Indian people, somehow, and you can tell the difference, like if somebody was coming to a Halloween party for laughs, ha-has, and making fun of my culture, then yes, that would be offensive.
Right. Well, the example I can use in a sense is, we travel a lot and sometimes we go to places that are a little more religious than others. So we need to keep covered, our shoulders, our whatever. And I think I have teenage girls and they don't dress crazy, but still they have, maybe a larger chest and that is not their fault, but they need to maybe wear something that covers it a little bit more. In that regard, we're very sensitive to where our whose space we're in, right? And so we're not trying to dress as a culture, but be respectful of where we're at.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. And that reminds me, like back in med school, there was a Halloween party and which I just thought was beautiful. And so over the years I've thought about it. I'm like, was that inappropriate? I wore one of those Chinese, like a red, beautiful, what are they called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
a Chinese.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. I mean, I would wear that now.
I mean, I bet it looked amazing on you.
I love it. I love that dress. And it was, with the mandarin collar and the beautiful silk and the print. So it was not to make fun of Chinese culture. It was because I just love that fashion. And it was an opportunity to, dress up. So I hope that wouldn't offend people. So I think that's an interesting thing to think about. This comes up sometimes,
Yes,
when people
sure.
talk about it. And yeah. So let me see. Another thing. Oh, you know what? Another thing I have listed is environmental concerns about fast fashion, like how much people cycle through clothes in it. Did you watch? I just saw on Netflix this documentary called Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy. I don't know if you heard of that.
I have. And the thing about fast fashion is I don't agree with it. And I mean, I care about our environment. I mean, we started off this conversation because I'm from LA and it's literally on fire, right? And so these are real things happening. And so fast fashion, I know a lot of influencers make a lot of money off of fast fashion. If I'm coming into your closet, we are not doing that, because I want you also to have quality. It's not about quantity. And of course, when you're younger, you feel like it's quantity and it's better to maybe spend less and get more. But in the end, we're actually really hurting our environment. And you will get more out of spending more on something than to have a bunch of stuff you never wear.
Yes, absolutely. I'm on the same page with you. I try to buy mindfully and, things that I'm going to wear for years. I'm definitely a rewearer because if I love something, I want to rewear it. It made me feel awesome. And
if you're putting money into something, that's what I always say. Like, a lot of times I say the rule of 3. If you have something you can wear it 3 different ways, that's a keeper, because chances are you'll probably wear it more than 3 ways, but 3 is good. If you could get 3 different outfits out of something, amazing. So if you buy a blazer, I bet I could style 7 outfits with that blazer. And I will. If you're spending money on that, I will. And so you'll find like you don't need a ton of stuff in your closet. When you have so much in your closet, you can't even see what you have, right? And I always say, I think maybe I talked about this with you before, I don't know, but most people have about 7 to 10 pairs of jeans in their closet. But we only really rotate between 3 pairs, because there's only 2 or 3 that we really like, but we have stacks of them in the closet.
Yes, right? Absolutely. My closet is actually, believe it or not, small. It's that Marie Kondo. I swear to God, that book is amazing. It definitely changed my life. Like once I purge, like I maintain a pretty small closet. I don't have a walk-in closet. And I love that. That reminded me of that capsule wardrobe concept. I love that. I think there are some essentials you can rewear throughout the years. And my daughter is 21 and I've been trying to talk to her now about now you're at an age, she's interviewing for jobs and like, you're at an age, you should just buy things that are a little better quality that you can use, for a while.
And what I find is at some point, everybody changes. It happens. That's usually when I get the phone call. Like, I don't want to shop like this anymore, because I think at some point we do realize like, oh my gosh, I have so much and I don't even know what to pair it with. And I don't know why I keep buying it. And I'm going nowhere. I'm kind of going in circles with a lot of stuff in my closet. And so, but I hope for the future that we aren't so into buying so much fast fashion, because it's just wasteful.
Yes. And, this documentary on Netflix, I saw that Buy Now, one I mentioned, they talk about I think in the past I had this false concept that like when you donate clothes that people are really wearing and using them, but nope, they're mostly ending up in a landfill somewhere. So we should be trying to reduce that.
Yeah.
So okay, and the other I guess another thing to touch upon with this fast fashion is that it also exploits workers, in low income countries. And most of them are women and girls. So that's another reason to move away from that.
Yes, that's very true.
All right, let's move to the positives. Let's end this on a high note, right? I think we touched on some of it, but let's really go there. So one of the things I love is that, obviously the self-expression of it all, but I also like that it's basically a demonstration of your bodily autonomy, right? Like it's sort of a pushback against people who think you should dress a certain way. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like this one time, I was in my 40s and I wore a mini skirt. It was a hot day. I wore a mini skirt and flip flops, and someone told me, unsolicited, that someone my age shouldn't be wearing a mini skirt. And you can bet that every time I saw them after that, I was wearing a mini skirt.
I love that.
That is just my personality. I'm like, tell me what to wear.
I love that.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think, listen, I get asked this a lot. My dermatologist, who's always on my social media, Dr. T, says you should not wear shorts after a certain age. You just shouldn't. Well, I mean, to each his own. I have definitely gotten to a place where maybe I'm not going to be wearing shorts because I don't feel comfortable in them. But I think that you wear what you want to wear. If you feel like you look good and you like what you're wearing, you do it. It's the same thing with this whole skinny jean thing, which I've talked about on the radio and so many places, is if you like a skinny jean and it looks good on you, wear it. Like maybe I could help you style it a more current way than back 10 years ago, right? There are ways in a miniskirt. Maybe there's a way that we could style you in a miniskirt that maybe makes you feel a little bit more mature in the miniskirt if you wanted. You know what I'm saying? So there are ways to still be able to wear what you want to wear, but maybe it's the styling piece that we kind of just judge a little bit to make you feel age appropriate, right? But for the most part, I think you wear what you want to wear if it makes you feel good.
Yes, I agree. And Tara, I got to call you out because I saw you in a bikini on your Instagram and you look absolutely gorgeous. Well, so I'm like, why don't you wear shorts?
Well, the thing is it took a lot of work. A bathing suit brand had said, oh, we'll send you some bathing suits. And then I was like, oh, here we go. Okay, so the challenge is on. I appreciate that. But that's a me thing.
Okay, yes. That's just not your style.
Maybe deep in the summer, I'm like, I'm good with the short, but right in June when I'm maybe not ready, I'm not ready. I don't know. But a good point is but that's my thing, right? So everybody has that.
Yes. Everybody does have, yes. I do avoid certain things. That's personal taste, right?
Oh, totally. But back to what you're saying is I think there's a way to style things for our age that make us, like, if you still want to wear it, great. Let's just like I said, zhuzh it a little bit for our age group.
Yeah, I want to get to putting a bikini shot on Instagram, so I might have to hire you for that.
I'm ready.
That was awesome. It was awesome. Anyway, so okay, another positive was remember that dress for success, concept in the 80s, power dressing, which I guess we've kind of touched upon it, but I think that's a big positive. It's like, it is kind of costumery, a little bit, but I do feel like if I choose a specific outfit, a power suit or something like that I do feel like I can walk in a room more confidently, or do a talk, for example.
Yeah. Well, even when you were on our podcast, that pop of pink was amazing. I think anybody gets in a suit, a man, a woman, a suit can make you feel like you can run the world if it's fit right. Yes. I don't care who you are. Like if you are in a good suit, I'm telling you, it's all the power to you, because for whatever reason, it gives you this feeling of empowerment and
Yes.
you're very chic, so it's like this double header of like, I'm going to crush whatever comes before me today.
Yes, yes. One of my favorite, that reminds me, like, well, one of the positives I was going to mention, and goes right into it, is challenging gender norms, and I love that. I do love like a black tuxedo suit, that look. Like, I want to do that someday. Like, one of my favorites is just when women wear these men's look, like black tuxedos with either shirtless or even, with like a tie,
Oh yeah, I love that. We're definitely going to get you in that at some point. I love that. See, that's like that sexy yet polished kind of look where you're showing your femininity, right? But like in this masculine type of way, but you're going to feel so confident in that. That's hot, but it's
I love
also,
it. Yes.
I love that.
I think I just saw, I think I saw on Monica Bellucci's Instagram, she had a really beautiful, like she wore it like a real suit, like how men wear it, with this white blouse and the tie. And I was like, oh, that looks good.
I also like when they have like the cutout button now where it's almost like a halter neck, right? So the whole back.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yes.
I mean, there's so many ways we can style in that. We're definitely going to do it at some point.
Yes. So let's see. Yeah. So I love that androgynous, gender fluid kind of, it pushes back against like, oh, you have to be like a Stepford wife.
You do not.
Let's see. What else? What other positives do you think are, like, what are the big things about fashion that you think are really positive for women?
Well, I think now more than ever, there's something for everybody, that there are, people who can buy sizing, plus sizing, whatever sizing from so many brands now. And that used to be a very difficult thing. And they're really cute. And they've made things that work for people also, because I'm going to do this segment soon. It's something about how when you're buying maternity wear, how you can kind of wear it after, because things are made a little bit more, I'm going to say current, or not
or stretchy materials. Right.
So it's pregnancy, but you can wear it after, which I think is a really awesome concept.
Yes.
I just think that there's so much versatility and ways to show. For instance, when I work with somebody, I don't want to change who they are. Everybody has their own personal flair or style. I'm just in there to help you elevate and kind of hone in and tailor things like to the degree that you want. But I'm not trying to change your personality, because I think our personality shines so much through with the way we dress, right? Mm-hmm. And what colors we choose and what patterns we like and what shoes we want. I mean, so I just think there's so much more versatility, and people are more open to accepting what other people, how they express themselves. Not that it should matter what other people think, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not everybody wants to be so cookie cutter anymore, I don't think.
Right. I love what you said about that. I do think that there's more diversity, and inclusivity, like different cultures, different body types and shapes, So I think that's pushing back against those beauty standards, that we've grown up with. And then one of the things I thought that fashion is really great for is to use it as a tool of protest. Like people wear shirts that say, the future is female, or, today I posted. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Do you have other? No, please.
You say, or they're wearing something that says exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're expressive. Yeah. But you were going to say today you posted.
Today on Blue Sky, I just posted that dress that AOC wore. I don't know where she wore it, but she wore a gown, and on the back, it was a beautiful white gown. She's gorgeous, and the back in big red letters it said "Tax the Rich," and that's just that was a great moment. Melania's used her fashion to say things, not necessarily great things, but anyway, people use it as a way of expressing not only like self-expression and their style, but also their political beliefs. So That's interesting to me.
Which I always think is so creative, to be honest. Like a lot of times the
Yes.
way they do it too, like you just said, like that was a great example of creativity, right? Because
Yes.
you would have no idea that that was on the back of the dress.
Right. The front was just a stunning, like off the shoulder white. Yeah, she looked beautiful. Like, and I like that best. It's like, okay, you want to emulate that. You don't, you're not like, oh, that's hideous. She had to make a point. Love it. So, my goodness, we are running out of time. Let me just make sure I get through the things I wanted to talk about. So, not everyone can afford a personal stylist like yourself. So do you have any tips? Like, do you have something? I don't know. I know this is probably an entire episode, but any tips for people?
Yes. So I'll give you like a couple of my tips. First of all, if it's on trend, doesn't mean the trend's right for you. Because a lot of times we'll see things. A lot of times I'll go to clients and they'll show me somebody on Instagram. The person might be 5'9" and 102 pounds, and my client is not. That doesn't mean you can't wear it. It will just look a little bit different, right? And so maybe we need to kind of hone in on that. If there's a pant that I really like and it's long and wide leg, I'm telling you, I have to alter everything. The wide leg, the bottom will be totally different because we have to take half the jean off or half the pant. So not every trend is good for you. The thing about trends too is don't spend a lot of money, because if you like something and it's trending, try to go a little less expensive, see how you like it. Like I'm going to say the barrel jean. Remember, the barrel jean or the horseshoe jean? Don't go full force. Try a pair that's not that expensive. And then if you seem like you wear them all the time, then you can upgrade a little bit if you want to. Be mindful, because you don't want to have a closet full of trends that don't break the bank on them if they're not great.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is like I said before, kind of remember that rule of 3. You really only need 3 pairs of jeans in your closet or in rotation. If you can style something 3 ways, it's a keeper. If you have something that sits in your closet and you never ever wear it and you walk by it all the time and like, well, one day, get rid of it.
Okay, thank you. Those are some great tips. So, Tara, do you have any other final thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to share where everyone can find you to follow you and get tips.
Get tips and tricks. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It was a delight. You always look amazing. So
I tried because you're a fashion stylist. So I tried today.
You did good. You guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Tara West Fashion. I have, like you said, a podcast called Shorts with Tara and Jill. It's still going to remain that until we change the name. And my website, tarawestfashion.com. You can shop through my site on, I post all the time. I have a blog through there. I post stuff every week, sometimes twice a week for you to shop. It's all shoppable. And so if you ever have questions, please reach out. You can DM me or send me an email at tarawestfashion.com.
You have impeccable style. You must follow her. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Tara, I like to leave with a closing thought. So just bear with me before I hit end. So if you guys have been listening to me, you know that I feel the goal of the patriarchy is to control and oppress women by any means necessary. The fashion industry is just another avenue that is used to make women feel inadequate, insecure, and to use women through unrealistic beauty standards, sexualizing and objectifying women, and reinforcing gender roles. And this is further done in order to then market to women's insecurities. But in the Gynarchy, we reclaim fashion as our own. We start from a place of love for ourselves, recognition that all women are beautiful, and use fashion as a tool of self-expression, of protest, and to challenge unhealthy norms. So down with the patriarchy and up with the Gynarchy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Gynarchy Podcast? Know someone else who might enjoy this conversation? Make sure to subscribe and share the show with your friends and family. Find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and just about anywhere you find podcasts. On social media, we can be found on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at The Gynarchy. Thank you so much for listening.